Kamila Valieva has been cleared to compete in the figure skating short program tomorrow, despite testing positive for a banned drug before the Beijing Games. However, the decision also means the 15-year-old will not get a medal ceremony, nor will any skater who finishes in the top three. Joining me now live from Beijing is CNN sports analyst Christine Brennan. She's a sports columnist at USA Today. And also here with me is CNN contributor Patrick McEnroe. He's a former coach of the U.S. men's tennis team at the 2004 Games. Christine, I understand why this is controversial, but why is this so complicated?
That's a great question. Obviously, it starts, Kate, and Patrick, hello, with Russia, a nation that is the worst doping nation since the East Germans of the 60s and 70s. And it also involves a 15-year-old, so they didn't want to throw the book at her. She's a protected person and gets leniency. That's at least what we've been hearing from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Of course, it's alphabet soup, right? IOC, ISU, CAS. On and on it goes. And but the bottom line is someone who tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug, 15-year-old, we're all very sympathetic that the adults in her life obviously have betrayed her and abused her. But she tests positive, and now she's going to compete in the Olympics. And that is a devastating blow to these games. You know, if you can't trust what you're watching, if you can't believe it's true, then why do you watch? And it's a true, obviously it's a scandal of massive proportions. She's going to be competing, and as you mentioned, no medal ceremony, which the IOC decided, Kate, and I think that tells us a lot. They think when at the end of the day, when all of this is examined with another CAS ruling in 5-6 months, whenever, that it may well be that they will determine that she will be disqualified and the Russian team will be disqualified because of her positive drug test.
Coach, I mean, what are you thinking about with this news today? Well, quite frankly, for all of the other skaters.
That's what I'm thinking about, actually, and it's great to see Christine again. She's working overtime over there, but I'm thinking about the athletes that are there, the figure skaters. I'm going to go to my phone because I want to get the names right. I had some names this morning, and I'm going to read some of the names. Mariah Bell, she's an American figure skater. Anastasia Shabatova from Ukraine. Josephine Talagard from Sweden. Alexia Paganini from Switzerland. Kim Yi Lim from South Korea. That's who I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about those athletes, those figure skaters that are now having to deal with the fact that they're not going to be able to have a ceremony if they're lucky enough to finish in the top three or the top four, depending on what happens with Valieva in the long run. They've spent all this time, all this effort, working their whole lives for moments like this in the Olympic Games. And as Christine rightly said, the IOC, they pass the buck to these other organizations, whether it's WADA, whether it's the CAS. They're running the Olympic Games. And maybe there's a sliver, the sliver of hopes that the IOC is getting their act together, at least by saying they're not going to have the ceremony, which is a negative for the athletes right there. But maybe they're starting to take some responsibility. And thank goodness we've got Christine over there. It's late. It's after midnight there, keeping the pressure on them. And I hope those other athletes who made sure they ate right, they took the right supplements, made sure they've done all their training. Now they've got to go up against someone that they know has been doping and is still able to compete.
Christine, she's 15. She's a minor. What does her age have to do with this?
Because one would assume that she's not making these decisions herself, and Patrick knows this as a coach and someone who's been around young tennis players, that and in fact the World Doping Agency is already going to investigate the team, the coaching team around Valieva, because there were real questions. Clearly, she didn't decide that she was going to take a medicine for angina that helps increase endurance and blood flow and could help her continue to practice when, as to Patrick's point, all these other athletes did not do this. And I think also of Katie Ledecky and Michael Phelps and Michelle Kwan, who've done everything right and want to be tested more, and what a slap in the face this is today. But you really, I think you look at the team around her, and again, Russia state-sponsored doping. We shouldn't exactly be shocked that Russia, again, is in the news about doping, because that's all they've been in the news for: 2014 Olympics in Sochi, 16, 18, of course, in Tokyo. And they shouldn't have been at any of these Olympic Games, but they're here, and now they have created this absolute chaos. Obviously, because they keep cheating. And so in this case, they're using a 15-year-old, who, by the way, is the gold medal favorite. And what a shame this is, because on all accounts, you know, she's a victim, but she's still, you can feel that way. I think you can be sympathetic to her and understand that you feel really bad for her, but also be for clean sport and say that someone who had a positive drug test should not be competing at these Olympic Games.
Christine, it's great to see you. Thanks for staying up for us. Patrick, thank you. It's great to have you here in the studio. Thank you so much.